Revisiting this title today, one is reminded why they loved it so confidently, and why even not seeing it in almost 10 years, it never lessened its stature in one's mind. When I first viewed Frears' 1984 crime exercise The Hit, I was one of the prime audiences, a 19-year-old excited for slick gangsters, savvy dressed chaps with guns, filmic assertiveness, and an attention to the medium despite the smaller scale of the storyline and or production. Three highly watchable players, a superlative script, a vivid set of surroundings, and among the best direction in a British film from the 80s, it is genuinely difficult for me to gauge why one might dismiss The Hit for reasons beyond one's personal preferences and particular tastes. I can imagine a time when certain of the detestable university clique I once interacted amongst would arrogantly dismiss this film because they'd assume that more, say, entry level film fans would like it due to it featuring guys with guns, punchy British banter, and enjoyable impoliteness, having a jointly accessible yet cinematically adventurous compositional ethos, and for just potentially having the ability to entertain a more everyday, less intellectually inclined audience. If it wasn't dealing with dense European influenced existentialism, even though this film might be, it is somehow illogically invalid. Ask them why. I don't think they could explain it effectively, though. Because it wasn't inconsiderately inaccessible to an average cinematic beholder, because it wasn't appealing to pseudo left sensibilities enough. All of these kids had rich parents. Everyone. The head of UCID's Socialist Alternative branch was from the richest family in Tasmania. Not that she was in this film-centric clique I'm discussing currently, or because it dared to be entertaining instead of presenting an English-language audience with either walls of continentally inclined philosophic exposition via the subtitles, displaying the majestic stoic simplicity of cultures from the further east, an appeal to that undeniable Orientalism not referred to as Orientalism, which many cinematic prudes are violently afflicted with, or existing as some deconstructive interrogation of the form's parameters in of themselves. If some film wasn't these things, and was also liked by the yucky average audiences, then God forbid, for a bratty hissy fit, apparently. This was likely the finest film ever directed by the wholly prolific, accoladed Stephen Frears, who had composed helmed some really admirable teleplays in the 70s, before moving into feature filmmaking on a theatrical level during the 80s. One of the most well-known and discussed on this channel before is 1985's My Beautiful Laundrette, a tremendous romantic drama about humans who happen to be homosexuals, rather than individuals who are simply defined by their sexualities, as more contemporary efforts are more inclined toward. Also in the 80s, Frears was responsible for both Prick Up Your Ears and the celebrated adaptation of Sodelo de Laclos' Dangerous Liaisons. Speaking of said university clique, I learned what it was like to be on the receiving end of some rich rodents' liaisons dangereux mind game bullshit, though sadly without anyone attempting to seduce me or violently assault me either, so I would be very grateful, obviously. Following that 88 title, however, the works of Frears seemed to suffer, and while several were wholly successful, both commercially and critically, they weren't necessarily films which had much impact for me. Take The Grifters, High Fidelity, The Queen, and Philomena. They aren't the kind of films which I put on or am significantly impressed by on any occasion, though they have some merits, and their appeal is not lost on me, also. One of the most engagingly watchable features I've placed on of late, Frears the Hit was most probably the best of Frears' films. It is just inevitable that I would have to discuss it on here someday, and so that day is here. And I hope it is quite a quite excellent day for all of you viewing this, to be as well as you have all ever been. Thanks very immensely, yet again.